edit this part out.
We're gonna edit that out, I guess.
Yeah.
Should I no cursing? But
You could curse, just try not to do it too much.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and avoid that.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mighty Brad's podcast. Yeah, I know we're in person again. It's been a while. Today, I got my buddy Christian.
I'm here.
Christian, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, of course. So, you've been diving into some philosophical concepts recently, which is something that I love to talk about. What have you delved into and that you want to share?
I've been at NJT. I've been trying to reach out to people just because concerning my fears and I don't know, different things in life that I feel we all ask ourselves 24/7. Why are we here? What are we doing? What's the purpose? What's the meaning of life? These big questions that everyone wants to know. And I spoke out to these people. I try to speak out to people who I feel would know how to answer that the best. For one, I'm taking an astronomy and cosmology class at NJIT, and that certainly didn't help. Let's just say that to begin with. I was beginning to fear just reading through the textbook. I was all these crazy facts, 8 minutes for light to travel from the sun to the earth, and the elliptic orbit of Mars, and all these crazy random facts that all just somehow managed to happen in our universe.
Right.
And I don't know how familiar you are with that.
Not much.
Maybe I could try and teach you a little bit of what I've learned, but for the most part, just learning these concepts ultimately made me start to really fear at night. So I was asking my professor, a religious person, and personally I would say I'm still on this journey to figure out whether where I stand on it all. But I feel ultimately before get into what I learned, maybe it'd be better to kind of explain further some of the fears and concerns I had. Maybe some of your viewers could kind of relate a little bit to it. But things is God real? And started watching podcasts regarding evolution and what we know about that. And I kind of got sick and tired of hearing all these different positions and different facts, statistics, this, that, the other, why you should believe in God, why you should believe in the scientific fact and all. It's just very dividing. Right. So that's something that really concerned me at first. And I don't know, the thing that I originally clinged on to was this idea, this little, I don't know how you could explain it, this experiment, this thought experiment. I want you to imagine that you have 100 people lined up, okay? And you hand each one of them a dime, quarter, penny, whatever. You tell each one to flick it. And if it lands heads, the person stays in that line. But if it lands tails, they go home. So what ends up happening is everyone flips the coin once. People that get out, let's say 50 people. 50 out of the 100 people go home. And you do it again. There's 25 people left. You do it again. You do it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. And eventually one person has to still be standing, and the reporter who's reporting this whole experiment, he comes over and he goes, How do you feel? How do you feel that you were the last person to land heads? And the guy goes, I knew it. I felt it. It was the coin. I knew it since the start. I knew I was going to be here. I knew I was going to be the person to be the last person standing. And the reason why that's an interesting thing to think about is it revolves all around this idea of luck, this idea of chance, which is fundamentally what most scientists want to cling on and believe regarding the universe, no? They want to believe that all these crazy things that we can't comprehend, the Big Bang, the hydrogen, everything, the temperature, the unimaginable temperature of the universe, all these things just coincidentally were perfectly in equilibrium to exist. Right. And that just blows my mind. Yeah. That's got to also blow your mind a little bit too. You're asking yourself, is God real? What is it going to be like if I die? And there's nothing after that. What is all these things about? And then you put the hard contrasting ideas of the scientific community together, and it's they'll be nothing. They say nothing, and they don't believe in that. And I'm sure there's a lot of positions. I'm sure that gets you thinking there might be something. But back to the whole the luck idea. that thing really puts into perspective for me at least. And I want to say that the first thing that a lot of people are going to have their own opinions, and a lot of people are going to immediately disagree to that. But the thing about it is, that's what immediately clung to me. Mainly just because I feel like that might have been like the first like mind-blowing moment for me. So it all built on top of each other.
Yeah.
And I wanted to seek for answers. So, very successful guy. At this point, I'm like waving off a couple of my astronomy and cosmology class tests. I'm certainly very interested in the topic and to hear what they have to say, but I just wasn't going I wasn't going above and beyond in the research of it. And I was kind of moving away because I wanted to have a couple of better nights of sleeping, right? I kind of wanted to ease up on this whole existential crisis that the scientific community is right, and, you know, we're insignificant, and you watch the, I believe it's Introduction to Cosmology or something, Harvard Review, whatever, a YouTube video, like an hour long, and they go over, I believe the title is like, why you're insignificant, or why nothing is what you are, and, you know, that gets you thinking, like, makes you quite confused. So, essentially, I reached out to my professor, and I moved away from the whole astronomy cosmology thing just a little bit. I kept my grades, but I asked them, I'm like, we sat down in the office, I remember I texted them a big long paragraph. I was like, listen, I'm just, all these things in my life, some good, some bad, I want to talk to you. And I didn't tell them why, I didn't tell them like what was going on. I made it more to seem of like, I just said I wanted to pursue things. I talked about like, general things I wanted to talk about college, about my future, and that's kind of how I worded around. I want to talk about future,
right.
But I didn't tell him, hey, I'm like really nervous. I don't know what to think. I'm like all over the place. I don't want to come off like that. And this professor is actually part of the management, Martin Tushman School of Management at NJIT, where I'm currently studying it. And extremely successful guy. He is religious, as far as I believe.
What religion?
I believe we didn't disclose that. However, I believe he is Catholic. He believes in God. And that's as much as I know concerning specific religion. However, I came to him and I asked him, and I think it was important that I went to ask him because, just a little context about him is he's an extremely successful businessman, investment banker. He actually turned down a job offering internship at Goldman Sachs. He sold his company for, I believe, $10 billion. Quite an acquisition, to say the least. He was part of the he was part of a telecommunications business, and he made it seemed like he made all the right moves without even knowing. And it seems like an extremely smart person, let's say the least. And I won't get into the resentment part of like, maybe I'm like not mad at him, I don't hate him, but I feel like anyone listening to that would hold like a little bit of like self-conscious resentment towards, hey, like why am I not that person? But to stay on I'm just wanted to throw that out there.
Right.
But to stay more on like the religious and the spiritual and on that topic, I came to him, very successful guy, always happy, and I asked him, I'm like, I gave him the exact same, experiment I told you just now. Like, you line up 100 people, you do the coin experiment, and you look at the chances, you look at the probability, and it's basically saying that people have an profound way of not being able to understand the chances that we are right here, right now, and somehow miraculously all the gen. And I asked him this, and he goes, what? It's not about that. He's like, you gotta relax, I'm like, everyone needs to be told to relax sometimes. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit back in my seat, I'm just let him talk. And he said a lot of different things, but I feel like the ultimate gist of what he was making is that, it's not all about, why. It's not all about understanding why. And he specifically told me, and I was like, throwing all these propositions at him. He's like, well, what if this is heaven? What if where you are at right now is heaven? Or what if God is within you? And I thought about that. I was like, whoa. And I just getting shivers about it. I'm like, wow. he's right. You know,
Mhm.
like, I'm like, he's 100% right. Like, I don't need to, question later. I don't need to question like 20 years now.
Mhm.
I need to question and enjoy right now. Right now, this moment, I need to be happy about. And that might be like a subtle answer for many people. That might be like a disappointing answer to some who just can't seem to wrap their head around
Right.
and want to push to the bigger questions. But for me, that's what did it, and that made me like 100% just relax immediately. And I'm like, I really thought about that, and I considered that. And I'm like, and I think what he meant by that was, you know, we're here under whatever circumstances, or whatever you want to believe. And I think the best way to go about it is just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And success and the concerns and everything, they're in the hands of whoever you want to believe. And it's okay to just let that go and kind of enjoy where you're at. And, he's I want to talk about how I want to make it clear that he's an extremely happy person. He was telling me a story to the whole class, actually, how someone had to go to the hospital and, scary situation. And, he still manages to come to class and talk to us and teach and all these things, and he's happy. And it seems like, the idea of death and, the idea of all these uncertainties doesn't really apply to him, and because he's enjoying right now and he's enjoying the present, and that's something that was really like important.
Yeah, that's a journey to get to a place of that, because especially nowadays with the way everything works, we're all so quick to do everything and all the instant gratification of we get everything at the tap of our phone, right? And it's like, to sit back and actually acknowledge that you're here right now. You can feel, you can smell, you can experience like that concept of what if heaven is right now. I think that's a really powerful concept to think about, because what if that is true? Because it's, of course, nobody knows what happens after or what before, but it's like just the fact, and just the fact that you're alive right now is the chance that I could be here in the way that I am right now, and you could be here in the way that you are right now, is like it's an imperceivable amount of chance and luck.
100%.
And I think sometimes when I think about all the philosophical and religious stuff, I think, what if everyone's trying to find the answer, like you said before, why, and every single little detail. But I think some things, especially just the way our mind is programmed, there are some things that we will never know the answer to, because our mind cannot physically perceive it. The way we see things, the way we think, whether it's in images or in words, in our language or whatever it is, like we just, whatever the answer is, if there even is an answer as to why we're here and stuff like that, it's like, maybe, I also think about maybe, what if the reason that we're here is just to be here? Like we don't exist because we're supposed to do this really good thing, or we do this bad thing to learn this lesson, or what if it's purely just to be here to experience? And I think we go throughout our days, we go to our jobs, we go to school, and we just do stuff, but we don't think, similar to asking the question of why things exist, we don't ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Sometimes you might have an end goal in mind. I'm working this job so I can make this amount of money, or I can get promoted, or one day I'll be in a different job, or I'm going to school to get a degree. Now, those things, we have a purpose into doing it. But there's also a lot of things, and a lot of people going to school, and a lot of people in jobs where they don't have any sense of direction, and they're doing it to doing it. And then I feel as though there's so many people that they'll wake up one day when they're 65 and they're retired, and they're just going to be like, well, what happened? What happened for the past 65 years of my life? What did I do? What did I accomplish? Did I do what I truly wanted to do? Did I pursue that passion of mine? Did I miss that relationship? Did I break up with that person that deep down in my heart I felt like I should have stayed with them? And it's all these. Now this is going down a rabbit hole, but it's it's all these questions of it's like, I think ultimately what it comes down to is like kind of look at your life and be like, what do you want out of it? And like, yeah, like this we could perceive this as heaven per se. What do you want out of this heaven? What type of experience do you want? And once you become conscious of what direction you want to go in, then it's only up from there. And maybe there's going to be downfalls and pitfalls that you fall into and bad experiences that you have along the way. But ultimately, you know where you're going. Like if you're just sleepwalking through life and you eventually get to some destination, it's like, everyone talks about enjoy the journey, but it's like, and you also want to have a destination. Not that the destination is super important, but you want to be conscious of what that destination is. Because do you want the destination of I'm 65 and I'm happy with my life? Or do you want the destination of, like I said before, I'm 65, what happened? You know what I mean?
100%. That brings up a lot of ideas that I that kind of build and stack off of those concepts. And I believe, just to backwind even more, you talked about perceiving. There's actually, ironically, I believe it's a paradox regarding the meaning or the understanding of life has to be created by intelligent mind just because we're perceiving things. Not an expert in that. I'm not gonna go above my pay grade just a little bit.
Right.
Still a freshman, but that is something that scientists have looked at. Not scientists, but rather religious people. But that brings me to another idea you're talking about, just where do I want to be in life, and that kind of goes into the ethic, the mindset that maybe you could consider. Reality is that there is no specific mindset. Everyone's going to do what makes them happy, but what I kind of truly learned was, the more you do, I feel like the better off you're going to be, and that's it's a general blunt statement. And what I mean by that is try new things. Have you ever watched Forrest Gump? I'm sure a lot of people famously.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
Okay, so a lot of people, I'm sure, who are watching this, at least 50% will probably understand what Forrest Gump is, and it's this man, to just break it down real quick, it's this man who just essentially says yes to everything. Okay. Without too many spoilers, it's oriented and positioned in quite a weird contrast. This girl that he's in love with is a drug user during, I believe it's set in the 80s, and he is I believe he's got some kind of mental disability or some kind of disability. So his speech or whatever isn't fully activated, and he doesn't know better, in a way to say. But he still says yes, and I feel like when people don't know better, at least it's the irony of all this is that you would expect Forrest Gump to say no to a lot of things, but in reality he says yes to everything. And as stupid as it might sound for me to tell you everyone should be more like Forrest Gump, it works out. And this is also what I generalized about what my teacher said, my professor. Try new things, and do new things, and say yes, and go for it. And that started to kind of lead me down, I feel like, a rabbit hole that I should be going down. I started going to the gym, and I joined a aviation / space club to do flight simulators. I started focusing on doing independent studies, something as ironic and crazy, who would want to study on their own outside of already studying for school? Who would want to learn about relational database management or database design course is what I was watching. Why would anyone want to do that? And it's all right up here in your head, actually. And if you kind of change the way you look at things, and you just say yes, and you go for it, and you pursue knowledge, specifically, if you pursue to learn new things and learn knowledge, I feel like, at least in my teacher's perspective, that's the ultimate goal in life. That's where true happiness is. He actually said that there's a difference between entertainment and enjoyment. Entertainment is when you're doing side things and you're watching TV and you're watching Netflix and playing video games. And enjoyment is when you're sitting down and you're reading a book, or you're learning new material, or you just found the answer that you were looking for. And how you do this and how you change your mind just so you kind of perceive how you would make this happen, make this a reality, to change your viewpoint, is you stop asking why and you start asking what.
Mm.
You stop asking why, and you start asking what. Start asking how. And by doing this, I feel like what happens is why is such like a long shot, something that you're not gonna really come back to. You need to have a distinct thing that you're looking for, and that's where the enjoyment of opening up a book and finding out what,
Mm-hmm.
finding out how, and once you get that, that's the enjoyment. Once you find out the answer to what you're looking for, that's where the enjoyment is.
Yeah.
That's where, things start making sense, and you start learning about designing databases. And you might be like, why do I want to learn about designing databases? Because it begins to feel good, You feel like you're making progress, and I feel like a lot of people, they throw in so much entertainment in their life to where it's almost like a numbness. It's almost like it's an addiction. My teacher says phones are addictions. I'm sure a lot of parents say that's a problem, and it is, in my opinion. So, you throw away the entertainment, you throw away the mindless scrolling, the mindless TV, the video games, you throw away all of that, you throw away all the things that you think you like but are really just wasting time. And you start feeding yourself knowledge, and feeding yourself knowledge is what's going to bring you to new and unexplored places later down in life.
Yeah. I mean, it's we all know those people where it's, if you meet that person that they seem as though they act as though they know it all, right? They have an answer to every single question. There's nothing
Really
they
bad.
don't know about, right?
Really bad.
And if you have that mindset and you have that perception of how your life is and what you know, number one, you're not going to be happy within yourself. And number two, you're missing out on so much because obviously you don't know everything. Obviously you don't know most things, and none of us do and ever will. But having that curiosity to be like, asking that person if they say one statement, not just saying I say something to you, and not you just going, mm-hmm. You taking it in and be like, I understand that part, but I don't understand this. So you ask me, hey, what did you mean by this? And once you start to ask those questions, that's when you get the answers and you start feeling more fulfilled. I think that like the difference between the entertainment and the enjoyment is you're going to be fulfilled by the enjoyment part, but the entertainment part, it's just an endless cycle. You watch this TV show and you finish the TV show, you're like, oh, that was good. Let me start another one. It's just an endless cycle, right? And sure, certain TV shows and movies you might after watching it be like, oh wow, this really applies to my life. I could apply this to my life, but I think most people don't watch movies and stuff like that in that aspect. But overall speaking, this stuff is, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching movies and watching a TV show.
It's important it's 100% important.
But there's a balance. There's a balance between you scrolling and watching TV shows all day versus, and it's also, you become a more likable person, an interesting person when you have a diversity of things that you're working towards, that you're interested in. Because, I remember back in, earlier in high school when, everyone would snap each other. Like, you'd snap girls would snap you. Mm-hmm. And I'd ask girls, I'd be like, oh, what do you do for fun? And they're like, I watch Netflix. And I've always been like, you watch, like, you're boring. Like, if all you can tell me is that you're passionate about watching that, it's like there's no depth to you.
That
right?
segues to an idea that I had. We could talk about just a little bit about like going down like the rabbit hole of like avoiding, like, not saying that there's anything wrong with the females that watch the show, but pursuing things that you're interested in, and pursuing something at the very minimum. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I mean, because it's, when I think about relationships and I think about a partner, someone of the opposite sex, I'm like, what, of course we need a connection. I need to like your personality, all that, right? But it's like, what, I don't just want to be with you or talk to you just to talk to you, right? Just for you to be someone. I want to be able to, have those conversations and try to grow with each other and stuff like that. And that goes for, just friendships and stuff too. It's like, I don't want to, and there's nothing wrong with us just, us getting together on a night and just chilling. Let's say we just want to play a video game together. There's nothing wrong with that. But if all we can do together is play video games and we can't ever have a conversation, or we can't ever do anything more in depth, it's like, where's where's the real connection between us, or do we just relate on that one thing?
I actually lost my train of thought before, and I was trying to grab it back. I finally grabbed it back. I wanted to actually segue to like what you believe in, like party culture and those aspects, and what I perceive. I feel like it's going to be a little dramatic, because I feel like a majority of people, they do like. It was only until I went to a tech school, NJIT, and I don't want to seem like a hotshot because I truly am not. I still am adjusting to the study lifestyle and pursuit of knowledge. We talk about the pursuit of happiness later, but I just began to perceive things in I feel like more sophisticated manner, in a manner that it's important to really observe your surroundings, and that even wires back to the whole consciousness thing. In my opinion, consciousness is actually sometimes a scary thing, just because in my opinion, are you truly conscious when you're just doing, but are you only conscious once you are physically telling yourself that you're here right now? And in that case, you're not making any progress. And that's actually something that I believe it's negative self-perception or something. There's a specific terminology for it, but that's just what I have to say about consciousness. But what do you kind of think about party culture? What do you, when, to paint the picture a little bit better, I apologize for maybe some of your viewers who go to Rutgers. I don't want to call anyone out. I think it's awesome, and I don't think there's anything wrong with parties. Be careful, and always have friends around, and don't get blackout piss drunk. Know what you're drinking. There's fentanyl everywhere. There's people dying at 30. There's people dying at 25 randomly. And when you hear about that, I think a good idea is to immediately at least weigh in 50% that could be a drug that they didn't know, because a lot of people do drugs. A lot of people engage in alcohol. What do you kind of believe in party culture? Specifically, I see people walking around at Rutgers at 1 a.m. I'll go to Insomnia Cookies with my friend, and I'll be like, hey, let's go to Insomnia Cookies, head back in the car and drive home. We'll be singing, we'll partying, but we see people walking along Rutgers. They're all looking for parties, people wearing basically nothing. It's basically nothing, which is fine, but it's kind of cold when it's 30 degrees in the middle of December and you guys are wearing tank tops and freezing your ass off. But even further go and paint the picture, there was a drunk lady, Rutgers, who came up to our car and started walking with us as we were walking back to our car from Insomnia Cookies, and being like, what are you doing? Just slurring her words. And what do you think about that, really?
To preface it, I'll say, it's everyone does what they want to do. Who am I to, judge or whatever.
100%.
But my opinion, for me, I think it's a waste of time. And if I'm not really the type to enjoy parties at all, but I'd say if you're someone who likes to go to a party or whatever, maybe do your thing a little bit, do it once in a while, whatever, right? But it's gotten to the point where most people that I know are doing it 4 out of the 7 days of the week, right? And it's
Really?
and then I ask myself, what. I always try to put myself in other people's shoes, and I try to ask myself, why are you doing this? And in some cases, I think, all right, maybe people are trying to, escape from their lives and stuff like that because, they're stressed out with work or, school or whatever it is, and they're like, oh, I just need to escape, and, drinking or whatever it does that for them, and partying and, hooking up with random people does that for them, right? But, it's like, what do you... Another perception I heard of it is, I don't remember who said it, but, someone was talking about how, it's what are you partying for? Why are you partying? What have you accomplished? Mm-hmm. You're just, what I think is going on is, everyone's sleepwalking through life, oh, I'm just going to college, just to go to college, just, why not, right? And I'm just doing this. And so they're doing that too. They're like, oh, my friends are going to the party or getting blackout drunk, so I'm just going to do it too, right? And it's people don't think for themselves.
It's almost in my opinion, it's almost like an unknown antidote. It's almost like something that even if you don't intend it to be something that's assisting with something that's lacking in your life, it's almost like medicine for something that you don't really realize. And the reason I say that is because at the end of the day, and I was talking to people about this, at the end of the day are the things that you're truly going to look back on and reflect off and be like, wow, those were really good days. Is it going to be you piss out drunk in the front of a frat house? Is it going to be you dancing with random guys or even just your friends? Maybe there's there's some leeway between these things for people who are responsible and people, being careful but really partying up. That's good. But, it's such a fine line between just partying and then just needing something in your life to fill that almost like empty or unknown space. Whether it's like it's what you think you want because everyone else wants it, or it's something, whatever. But the idea around it is there's something lacking. I think, you're not going to be ultimately looking back when 20 years down the line, you're going to be like, yeah, those parties were insane. I personally maybe only will remember one of the parties that I've ever been to. I've seen the light. I've seen what happens, and it's cool. But we think it's cool. We think it's awesome until it's only awesome once, and then all the other times are like, you don't even remember them.
Right.
You remember them being like lame. You remember them like, oh yeah, that happened. Going home, got drunk, got high, headed back in the car, drove home. I don't remember half of the ones that happened. Not because I was on something that would make me not remember, but because it wasn't something that in the long run I was going to remember. And pursuing things that you're going to remember in the future is important. Like vacations, you'll normally remember vacations more. It's not all about, trying to make the most crazy memory every time you go out, but rather it's about at least gaining something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not gaining a lot. Right. I feel like most people, they go to these parties and you go home and, you think you're having fun. You think it's awesome. You're partying it up and you're getting in, whatever. But at the end of the day, what is it really? What does it amount to?
Yeah.
So
you also have to realize, I mean, it's hate me for saying this, but if you're a teenager, if you're in your 20s and you're a chronic drinker, like you are quite like people are like, yeah, I know alcohol is bad for my body and it's like poison for my body, but like that's what people say and then they continue to do it. Well, I guarantee when you're older, when you're like in your 50s and your 60s, you're gonna have all these health problems and you're gonna look back and you'll be like, why do I have pains here? Why does my body not work? And it's like, well, look back to what you did every single weekend, 4 days of the week, right? And and there's also this concept and this talk about, and even adults say it, which when I hear adults say it, I'm like, oh, your life must not be good. They say, college was the best years of my life. And I think to myself, yeah, I want my years that I'm in college to be enjoyable, but I don't want to be 40 and be in my job or in my business or whatever it is and look back and be like, yeah, I really enjoyed college and, it was the best time of my life in the sense of like, it was the best time of my life and my life isn't good anymore. It's like, I want to be able to enjoy my life after college. I don't just want to enjoy my 18 to, 24 or whatever and be like, oh yeah, it was fun. And then I get in this job and I'm like, oh, well, this is just life now. I don't want to do that. I want to, if I'm in a job, if I'm in a business, whatever it is, I want to be able to enjoy it. And I think ultimately that's what everyone wants. Mm-hmm. But a lot of us aren't conscious enough to pursue that direction of, all right, what do I have to do today to make sure that I can get on that path of where I'm going to be? Because if you mindlessly party every single weekend and you don't actually think about, all right, what do I want out of my life? You finish college and you ask yourself, well, yeah, I have this degree and like I kind of wanted this job, but like, do I really want this job? Did I really want to pursue this?
I have an answer to that actually. I feel like it gets stapled. And right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to staple it just like everyone else does. But it's only going to stick if you, the staple is only going to stick. What I'm about to say is only going to stick if you actually do it. And everyone says that, like, oh, get up. Like, I'm just, copy and paste off of every influencer, everybody, but at least this time you get to hear it from two kids in an unfinished basement, talking on a podcast with one microphone. And you need to set up, goals. You need to set up goals. And you need to, more importantly, make some form of repetition. And I even thought about this on the way home, on the way here. I was like, yeah, I want to bring up this idea of, like, you need to establish, I was talking to myself in the car, I was like, you need to establish, some kind of, daily routine. And people don't like routine now. They want overnight success, insane one-hit song, rapper, I'm now flooded with the money, I'm famous. You want to believe in that, you can, but then you could go ahead and, do the experiment with the coin flip that I was talking about before, and then I'll let you bet on that, okay? So, I'm just saying, people want the success overnight, and people feel like, if I don't party now, and I don't live it up, and they have that mentality, and it's not a wrong mentality. If that's what you want to do, and that's what makes you happy, and you're doing it safely, because a lot of people say, I want to be here for a fun time. I'm here for a fun time, not a long time. It's not the right mentality. And I'll tell it to your face. I'll tell you, you need to change your perspective. But if you want to, you want to be a millionaire, pursue knowledge. Pursue something consistently. Have a journal. This is what my professor told me. He gave me 2 journals. He said, get a thought book. Start writing down your thoughts, increments, and it'll explode, just like the expansion of the universe. It'll explode and progressively get larger and larger infinitely, just like the universe. That progress will develop on top of each other. So that's how you go from sitting here, not been to the gym, I've not, been studying. I haven't been I'm not where I want to be because I'm not doing enough and I'm lacking, which is what I was feeling maybe only 5 months ago, right? You set up goals, you set up some kind of consistent schedule, you set up something to pursue, some kind of knowledge to gain, and it'll build over time. Your success, your happiness will build over time. And even I apply this, see, I'm coming back, I apply this coin flip luck thing, this chance thing a lot. Even if you do all these things that everyone tells you, and you consistent schedule, you work, you save money, you learn new things, you have fun with friends, even if you flip tails every single time and you go home first, you could still be like the best in the room. You could still be the best person because you'll be happier. And I guarantee that. You'll be happier if you pursue knowledge. And to dig it again. Pursue knowledge, you pursue routine. You find things that are going to make you, happy but safe. You're going to establish something to incrementally progress each and every day. And that's where the success is going to come. It's not going to come from, you're going to a studio once, not really understanding how to make music, and boom, hit song, popular, famous, boom, go off the grid, I'm done, million. You won't even be happy if that happens. You won't be happy. There's people, and again, my professor says all the time, winning the lottery will make you the saddest, most miserable person in the world to some people. You'll either lose all the money, or you'll have tons of money, and then you won't know what to do with it. You'll have accomplished anything without actually accomplishing anything. You'll obtain the goal without actually enjoying the ride there. So
and there's so many different ways to dissect and think about that. I mean, it's most of the time if you get something without actually having gone through the journey, it's kind of like it's like the imposter syndrome, and it's like and people have that even though when they climb up naturally and do the work. But if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's like whether you gain a lot of money, the status, whatever it is, and you ask yourself, well, do I really deserve this? And I feel like, if you win the lottery, it's like, oh, well, do I really deserve $10 million? It's like, what am I, I'm still insecure about this, and I'm overweight, and I don't like the way I live my life. Like, $10 million, it can do a lot of things, but it's not going to change your insecurities. And everyone will say, oh, well, I can buy the nice car now, and I can buy the nice house, I can have all the girls, but you think that's what society has programmed you to think that will make you happy, make you feel content. But if you interview all these guys that are, have gotten the overnight success, and they have all the girls that they want, and they have billions of dollars, it's like, if they didn't work really hard about it, if they just made it all in one night, it's like, they're not happy, because it's like, because we, as humans, we want human connection, right? I want to be able to talk to you and feel like you care, and feel like we're having a productive conversation. But if I had $10 million and I have 100 girls with me, and it's like, that's like, where's the depth to that? I'm gonna be home, I'm gonna go sleep at night, and I'm gonna be like, you might enjoy it, the first night, for the first month, and then after you're gonna be like, well, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? And it's like, what do you do with that amount of money and stuff like that? And so me personally, I want to be able to make a good amount of money so I can travel. That's my one thing. I don't need 10 Lamborghinis. I don't need the $10 million house. I want to be able to see the world before I die. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. And some people could genuinely be happy if they make millions of dollars, and they just spend it on the Versace and the watches. Maybe you could be happy, but who am I to say you won't be? Mm-hmm. But what I think is that you won't truly be fulfilled by that. You'll be entertained, but you won't have the enjoyment.
100%. And it's a lot to think about. And what we're talking about is kind of like, what everyone talks about. But for people who even go even deeper into the whole, like, oh, I don't want to make a routine, because then I'm not going to really be enjoying, and I'm not going to be conscious about the things that are happening. For me personally, that was one of my concerns about a daily routine. It was like, by doing a daily routine, I'm going to feel like I'm waking up and I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And again, you could solve these things by changing your mindset on the way you think about it. And the way you do this is you learn new things, and you pursue different things. So it's not, oh, I gotta wake up and I gotta learn about databases and astronomy. I don't want to learn about that. Okay, learn about something that you do enjoy learning about. Learn about how you do editing and all these, things that you personally will enjoy. And you could do that simultaneously and gain a strong work ethic on, these things that you wouldn't imagine you've ever had time to learn about. You make time, and these things kind of produce and come naturally. So that's, we could talk about, if you would like. I'm not sure what you jotted down, but I proposed the idea of maybe talking a little bit about technology. That's a hot topic.
Yeah, 100%. One thing I just wanted to say, right before we jump into that is, what's funny? The routine aspect. Yeah. I noticed that when I plan out my day, okay, 10 o'clock I'm gonna do this, 12 I'm gonna do this. I actually feel as though I'm more conscious, and I'm more of like, I'm in the moment of, all right, I'm reading during this hour period, and I'm because I feel as though I'm on it's not a stress as like, oh, like I need to get this done. It's kind of like, but it's like, all right, I have to get this done within the hour, so I'm going to be focused at it. And then once that time is up, I'm like, okay, what do I have to do next? And I go to this, and I'm actually more conscious of it, whether as opposed to if I just go throughout my day and I'm just like, oh, I feel like editing right now, or I feel like eating at this. It's just like, I feel as though, when you have the routine, I don't know if you've felt that too. It's like, I feel as though I'm more there.
I think I had to kind of adjust my mind, and that kind of just shows that everyone's different. It's not going to be one key fits all. Mm-hmm. So that's an important thing for any of your viewers to like consider and really pause and think about. It's not going to be the same for all, but you could structure your own life, and you could structure all the things we've said to your liking, and that's kind of the beauty of it all. There's no right and wrong, and there's certainly no judgment. It's 100% love. And that's really important. And that's actually one of the things, not to go too far off track, but that's one of the things I like about religion. And that's why maybe what's keeping me just, to believe and have some faith and that everything's gonna be all right is that it's structured around loving, it's structured around being charismatic, all these things positive, and that's what's important in life. Whatever you enjoy, whatever you like to do. So, yeah, everyone's different, and that's important to take into consideration.
Right. Yeah. So what is diving into the technology stuff?
We can talk about AI.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sure.
100%. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, what I've learned, and actually this started all the way back for anyone who's, I'm gonna try and make it like more, for everyone, I guess. But anyone who's questioning about technology and who's questioning about like all this AI, and I'm gonna try and like make it so that everyone wants to listen about this. ChatGPT this, ChatGPT that. End of the world. We probably all have at least some kind of knowledge, some kind of like information towards that. What's going on in the news. So what do I believe about it? Well, let me just say for one, let's talk about the limitations of technology. So I feel like everyone believes that this is kind of a dramatic shift from philosophy to technology. What's going on? For everyone who believes in that technology is just endlessly going to grow until eventually, quick yes or no question, do you think that's going to happen? Technology is going to keep growing until, robots take over? Do you think?
Potentially. I think about have you watched The Matrix, the movie?
I've seen glimpses, parts of it.
So it's like, like the AI eventually, take over and...
Let me say why right now in history that will not happen. As far as what we know about technology today, it's all revolves around, getting kind of serious now, binary. It's all revolved around zeros and ones. That's how technology works. It's how, your computer calculates everything, and it's how it works. It's how it makes decisions. All of it's zeros and ones, which is, if you want to look at it differently, it's yes or no. So it's a series of yes or no's that's computing everything in your phone, computer, everything. Yes or no's. And, we think about the fundamentals, and if you want to link this to science, everything's based off of fundamentals. And the beauty of all this knowledge and the beauty of all this learning these new things is that all it takes is a very basic idea or a concept. Because as logical as it seems, it's all based up off logic. There's only a stupid question until you ask it once. And then it's no longer a stupid question. It's something that you know. So always ask stupid questions. It's all built off of foundations. So you take foundational ideas and you stack them on top of each other, and that's how you get to complex things like black holes and, quantum computers, big label. Like no one even knows. I'm still learning about those things, but you all comes down from a basic foundation of how do we make a computer work? Well, we do yes, we do no, and we do it through electric. And that's the foundation of it. So then we dive deeper and let's start to build the little castle. We build the pyramid. Okay, so we have zeros and ones, and now we have AI. That's a big leap. So how do we explain computers working with zeros and ones to AI potentially taking over the world? How do we do that? So basically, computers work off of, transistors, which is basically just something that helps the computer say yes or no. It's basically just a gate that's letting a signal through, and that's what determines yes or no, 0 or 1. So there's something called Moore's Law. And Moore's Law is, I believe, CEO of Intel, former CEO of Intel, basically stated that each year, or maybe every 2 years, the speed of technology will increase, meaning how fast a computer can process things, or how complicated a computer can get, basically, and answer these things. Every 2 years, or every 1 year, it's going to double. And the price of it is also going to go down. So it's going to become cheaper to buy computers, but the progression and how powerful they are is going to go up. So then we build off that foundational concept, and now we kind of come back to something that's actually more interesting, like AI. All of it's working off of that law, that idea that, technology is going to continue to go up until, robots are dominating the world and we're just nothing. And, you take the foundation idea, and what I've taken out of it and what I've been proposing and what I've been writing projects on is that's not going to happen. Because technology isn't anymore, and statistics show that technology isn't doubling every year. And you see repetitive ideas, you see the same chips inside of Apple. When's the last time Apple, to make it really simple, when's the last time you saw Apple do something crazy with their phones? I think the craziest thing we've gotten so far is screens that are just taking up the whole screen, right? But that's, also something that when we incorporate it, it's making the phone not as great in other things.
Right.
And, we're not seeing holographic clear phones. We're not seeing any of those things. So Moore's Law is false. Moore's Law isn't happening anymore. Computers aren't just endlessly getting better, and we're kind of at a standstill. If you look at the charts, you'll see chips, you'll see, phones, to simplify it, you'll see phones are kind of leveling off. And where we sit, the calculations per second, which is just another way of saying how close are we to, like, the speed of a human brain. If you compare it to a human brain, we might be at, I think, maybe the speed of, or amount of calculations a mouse can do. Some of these strong computers might be, like, mustered up. I don't know, probably not a single mammal yet, maybe, like, insects and bugs. We could do that. We could finagle that. But our minds are crazy. Every single molecule of a second, every word that's coming out of my mouth, millions, trillions, billions of neurons are interacting in my head. Logic is coming out. All these decisions and everything. So complex. And if you want to understand that and think how crazy is that, you need to realize that really smart and intelligent humans are the ones who are making AI. So next time you think of AI, you think of someone who's really smart is just basically taking what they know, taking their knowledge and skills, and amplifying it in a way that could be shown in a really, really organized fashion. So it's all being built off of someone's brain. So it can't possibly be equivalent. It's probably less. How great these AIs are only going to be equivalent to, the maker of them. And nothing else. I'm not going to go into the specifics of AI. I'm not going to go into the specifics of, like, every little tiny piece that makes up, like, neural networks and all these big beefy words. There's no need to go in through that. All you need to understand is the basic foundational concepts, and you'll understand why we can't really. It's clearly not likely that that AI is going to be taking over anytime soon. But that doesn't exclude the ethics around it. And one of the concerns and some of the concerns, like something I can inform your viewers on, is certainly be careful where your data is going, because I promise you it's probably being sent around right now for a couple $1 billion. It's going around and people will know everything about you, whether you like it or not. And to protect yourself and protect your safety and protect your money, it's definitely a concern, especially with AI coming up. So maybe to give you some light, what do you kind of think about, the whole concept of, technology as it is right now? Like, is what I said, like, kind of something to think about? Like, what do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I what I'm getting at is it seems as though AI can't get, since it's an intelligent person creating the smart AI that we see.
Yeah.
It's like, that AI is only programmed to do what that smart, like, it's doing intelligent things because the person who programmed it is intelligent, but that the AI does not have the capability to, access all of the different other aspects of the human brain and stuff like that. It's only what you put in. That's what I'm getting at. And something else I also think about is, what, and maybe this is something you've thought about or isn't, how, in terms of the government and all the big corporations, how much advanced technology exists that, the public just isn't shown and none of us know exists because, it's just like, I guess, with smartphones, whenever they started making it. But, we weren't introduced to it to a certain period of time after that. So it's like, how many advanced things were created, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago by now that just aren't released to the public, so we have no idea what exists. And then one day it's going to come out and we're all going to be like, oh, wow, what is this? You know what I mean?
100%. And to respond to that, and I could also build off of another kind of interesting topic maybe, if I remember it, is essentially we don't know what the government's doing, obviously, and I'm sure there's some crazy person cooking up something amazing in their lab somewhere, but I don't think it's gonna be radically crazy. I'm sure there's a really awesome high tech out there, but I feel like some of it would be known if it existed, to say the least. I feel like, well, we could go back to Moore's Law, and the reason why Moore's Law is partially not true is not because the innovation's there for the most part. It's, you need to contrast and you need to take the cost component to it too. I'm sure Apple's got, something mildly amazing that we just won't ever be able to see, or we won't see kind of in a decade or so, because it's not feasible to give it to the public. It's not feasible to make it happen. It's not because the public can't have that power, maybe, but it's not. It's because the technology is too expensive to efficiently widespread produce.
Right.
They could and you see the prices going up on these phones. Everyone, you want the best bang for your buck. The best bang for your buck right now was parts in an iPhone that were probably used, made 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. That's gonna be getting, you're keeping your wallet happy. But if you want the latest and greatest, and what we know to be the latest and greatest, it's gonna cost you a fortune nowadays, thousands of dollars. Yeah. You want to increase the storage capacity to take more photos on your phone? We're at another $1,000. Yeah, that's the biggest cash grab, adding storage. But the government, to answer your question, the government could definitely probably have something in there, but I don't think you should be concerning crazy, don't have crazy high expectations.
Right. And everything's, it's some of the stuff that might be in development now won't roll out till after we're gone, or maybe 500 years. Who knows, right? Mm-hmm. We're never going to know, but it's also, it's good to, I'm glad you're informed on some of this type of stuff so that you can, make an educated prediction of like, all right, yeah, most likely everyone's panicking about AI taking over within the next 10 years. Yeah, that's, from what I know, it's most likely not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good thing to put out there because, just someone like me, like, I wasn't convinced that it's going to happen in the next 10 years, but it's like, oh, maybe, mm-hmm. right? So, Christian, really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure.
I actually... this isn't our first time talking, so it was nice to be back, and hopefully I'll be back again, and I hope, just to wrap up a little bit, I hope for anyone who's seen me before, you kind of see the development, and maybe that's like living proof. I think that I kind of developed not being not the sophistication and the orientation of words, but rather just, the flow of kind of different ideas and different perspective, and that's what it's all about. And I encourage everyone, if you've made it to the end of this, congratulations. I hope you've been entertained, but I encourage everyone to, take a step and really push yourself to do something different, to make a change, because change is good. Good change is good.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Everyone get going and keep working and enjoy your life. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll catch you guys in the next one.